Hey folks. Whew. I'll bring this down. Whew. Oh, there goes all of the crap. Fix my hair a bit. I just need to get some music as well. Let's turn it down a bit. A little bit more, I think. There we go. Right. So, welcome in. We're looking at the D&D Wiki today. I'm excited because the D&D Wiki is, it's bad. It's bad. There was a weird little, I'm looking over at my other screen over there and I just saw, like, oh nice. Okay, your fucking, Grease Fang, all art. But yeah, I was like looking at like my screen that's like over here, and there was just like a tiny little bit of dust that floated up here, and it looked like a fancy like visual effect, and that wasn't what it was at all. It was just a bit of dust. But yeah, we're looking at the D&D Wiki. The D&D Wiki is basically what it is it is. There are a lot of places where Homebrew gets posted. And I've seen a lot of people talk about, like, a lot of, like, full-time designers talking about, like, where's the line between Homebrew and, like, a professional product? Because there are a lot of pieces of Homebrew that are built with the quality of a professional product, and a lot of professional products that are built with the quality of Homebrew. I think it's more... There's professional products with homebrew quality. I think that's much more prevalent than the other way around, because people who make really good quality homebrew tend to realize pretty quickly that they can monetize their work, which they are well within their right to do. That's by no means a dig. If you're good at something, and we live in a society or whatever where finding, something that you like and can make money of is literally the best thing that you can do. Because it's the only thing that stops you from, tasting the lead, as it were. Then fucking you do you. Real dark. But the D&D Wiki is one of the main places where the bad homebrew is, where it's unequivocally homebrew. Not made by professionals, is made by amateurs, and the D&D Wiki seems to have a very high concentration of the most amateurish amateurs. Like, Unearthed Arcana is bad as well, and D&D Beyond is even worse, and it's potentially worse than the D&D Wiki. But the D&D Beyond's homebrew section is a nightmare to browse, so... And I don't really want to give traffic to D&D Beyond. I've talked about my general disdain for it before. But I've done this twice before, and we looked at like full classes, and this time I want to look at subclasses, because they're generally a lot simpler to sort of digest as a piece of mechanical work, because, there are a collection of abilities stapled onto a pre-existing thing we understand, being, the 13 base classes in 5th edition. And I found one for over half of the classes. I have one for Artificer, one for Barbarian, one for Druid, one for Fighter, one for Monk, one for Ranger, and one for Warlock. And I'm going to sort of get through all of them. I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to generically critique them. It's really, all I have to say on the matter. Mostly just because I want to do that. This is fun. I was saying on Twitter that this kind of shit is interesting on sort of like a game design standpoint of just being, there's a lot of good lessons, mostly of what not to do. But it's also kind of funny. So looking at really bad pieces of work, it's like, yeah, it feels a bit mean on the surface in places, like a little bit like that's. But my kind of attitude towards it is very much my attitude towards it is that it's, you know, people are posting this shit online. If the shit is bad, then so be it, right? Especially since all the stuff on D&D Wiki, to my knowledge at least, is largely anonymous. The creator's name isn't stapled all over it, so, you know. Either way, I'm gonna go in screen capture mode. This is the first one. You can't see Magic the Gathering art. That's a classic of D&D Homebrew, is sniping magic art. That is an absolute fucking classic. However, this is the conduit. It's obviously the fact that Ral Zarek is there is a clear indication that this is a lightning-themed. Pushing to keep the mystical energy of lightning contained in a pressurized bottle is hard work, and that's all the flavor text we get. I really hate tongue-in-cheek flavor text. I think it's really bad. All of your flavor text and your writing in your brews, unless you're specifically going for a whimsical theme, should be tonally neutral. Like, if you want something to be taken seriously, you don't write sentences like that. Like, you know, there's nothing ostensibly wrong with, I need to, like, close. I have, like, Steam open. I need to close Steam. Whoops. Where is Steam? Oh, it's there. There we go. I just need to, like, close some other shit as well. But, either way, like, tonal consistency is very important, and, the game of D&D is very tonally neutral, assuming a general sort of neutral to serious tone, because it's much better to present something in a neutral or quite serious tone and allow players to add, or DMs to add, whimsicality to it, than to assume whimsicality and force people to take things away from what you've done. Okay. So, conduit spells. Starting at 3rd level, you always have certain spells prepares after you reach particular levels in this class. I'm not sure if that's how that's supposed to be worded. These spells count as artificer spells for you, but they don't count as spells the artificer. Note, the Create Helm spell counts as a minor helm. Well, it's not listed here, so we don't have to worry about it. This is an interesting thing to talk about, actually, is, like, this list, it has two things. One that is a problem, and the other thing is just an interesting observation I figured I'd inform people of if they didn't know. So, the cardinal sin I tend to find with lazy homebrew, like homebrew made by people who just don't know what they're doing, is non-alphabetized lists. Because some lists in this game aren't alphabetized. For example, if you look at a class's armor proficiencies, they're listed from light to heavy, because that's the order that they go in. Or light to heavy and then shield at the end is how they do it. And that makes sense, right? That's, you know, that's sensible. All other lists are alphabetized. And unless there is a specific, I guess things are, like, tiers are listed in order of significance, you know, order of power, you know. Whereas anything that isn't specifically a tier is listed alphabetically. So some of these spells are listed alphabetically and some of them aren't. For instance, here, this is not, obviously, Pulse Wave. Funnily enough, P comes before T in the alphabet. Big wow. And just looking at this, that tells me that this is made by someone who, if they don't care enough to alphabetize their lists, they clearly don't care enough to make their things rules compliant. And that's a problem. Now, that isn't obviously universally a fact, but in my experience, that tends to be the case. But the spells here are fine, like Gift of Alacrity, Thunderwave, Misty Step, Shatter, Thunderstep. Obviously, Thunderstep is kind of, like, you already have Misty Step, Thunderstep is just kind of worse. But I understand why they've given it to them. Like, it would make way more sense to give them Core Lightning, for instance. Pulse Wave is an awesome spell. I love Pulse Wave. It's like a legitimate alternative to Fireball at 3rd level, and it has like distinct upsides and downsides. Hell, if anything, it's probably better than Fireball, frankly. Like, trading out 2d6 for, like, the extra... I guess it is a con save. Is it a con save or is it a strength save? Let me look that up. No, I can't spell. Pulse Wave a con save? It is a con save. It is worse than Fireball. But even so, like, its secondary effect of, like, pushing or pulling targets is fantastic. I love it. Confusion, Storm Sphere, Steel Wind Strike, Wall of Force. Basically all of these spells are good. Gift of Alacrity I think is pretty bad. And Thunderstep is pretty, like, mediocre, and I think Storm Sphere is, like, pretty subpar. But basically every other spell here is, like, good to great. Or in the case of Wall of Force, like, actually kind of busted. The interesting thing of note I was going to talk about is that in Homebrew released on the Guild, or really anywhere, like even on the Guild, which allows you to use D&D material very, very easily, you cannot reference Gift of Alacrity or Pulse Wave. Obviously on here this is fine, because this person isn't making any money off of it. Technically it is something that Critical Role could send a cease and desist for, but they're not going to. Hell, even D&D, like WotC doesn't really care if you breach the OGL, or the SRD even, like you shouldn't, but they really just don't care. Unless you're like actually like reprinting massive swaths of content from like the PHB or like Xanathars or whatever, they do not give a shit. But yeah, that's just an interesting note. That's not a problem with this. Like, this is Homebrew, you do whatever the fuck you want. Right. Arcane Battery. Your master of the flow of electricity and understanding of it have allowed you to create an arcane battery that can be worn on your back. The battery has a number of charges. If the battery is lost or destroyed, you must spend a full long rest creating a new one. A new battery has all available charges restored. That is not worded in the way that it should be. But it probably works. Probably. Third level, that's interesting. Your Arcane Battery has 4 charges and gains 1d4 charges at the end of a short rest. I'm not liking that it regains a variable number of charges. That's something I'm distinctly not a fan of at all. You also gain 2 of the following abilities for your battery, so you can choose 2 of these. So Shock, as an action, you can choose up to 2 creatures within 30 feet of you. All targets, that's not right. Like, that probably works, but that's not right. Must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, there should be a comma there. They suffer. Suffer is, using the word suffer for damage feels appropriate, and it sounds nice, and was something that I did for a very long time, but it is not correct. You should be using take. It's a very minor thing, but it is, like, something that needs to not be a thing. 1d6 lightning damage on a success to take half damage. So this is a not really understanding how to template saving throw effects, which honestly is understandable. It's complicated. Like, it's like legitimately really complicated. Like exactly in what instances you're supposed to use what wording. But what you should be doing here is each creature must make a dexterity saving throw against your Artificer spell save DC. A creature takes 1d6 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Oh god, I need to clear my throat, Jesus. On a successful save, when you use this ability, you can expend any number of additional charges to increase the amount of damage done by 1d6 for each additional charge used. Base cost 1 charge. So here's the big problem here with this, is that they're placing this here and assuming that it makes sense and that's how it works, when that isn't the case at all. As it stands at the moment, base cost 1 charge means fucking nothing. Because it doesn't say you actually spend any. It just says base cost 1 charge. Obviously, rules as intended, you very obviously are supposed to spend that charge. But in this kind of game, exactly how you word this ability really matters. Like, this it doesn't need to be literally perfect, but it does need to very clearly and plainly explain exactly what you do. So it should be, as an action, you can expend 1 of the battery's charges and choose up to 2 creatures within 30 feet of you. And then it's you can spend extra charge, or it would be you can spend 1 or more charges. Yeah, it would be, as an action, you can spend one or more of the battery charges and target up to 2 creatures within 30 feet of you. Each chosen target, or each target, must make a dexterity saving throw against your Artificer spell save DC. A creature takes lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. And then you look at something like Divine Smite, which specifies, which has like a, it does 2d, let me go read Divine Smite of like exactly how that should be worded. The extra damage is 2d, or I guess it would be, the damage is 1d6 for one charge, plus 1d6 for each charge after the first, to a maximum of whatever. I mean, maybe you wouldn't have the maximum, but even so. So, my secondary problem with this ability is that it's terrible. Why would I spend a resource to deal 1d6 damage to 2 creatures within 30 feet of me, when I could cast Acid Splash, or 1d6 damage, and deal 1d6 acid damage to up to 2 creatures within 30 feet of me? Like, those creatures have to be within 5 feet of each other, don't get me wrong, but that's, I don't have to spend anything to cast that. Why would I ever do this? Why would I waste my action? Like, there must be something better to spend your charges on, because this ability just isn't good. Like, this is the kind of ability that should just be free, and you spend charges to make it better, significantly better than this, because on its own it's terrible. Repulsor Wave, as an action, enemies, so there should be a comma there, enemies is capital, or is in capital case for some, or is in, it is the first, I forget what the case is called for that. Enemies is not a, it is, it's generally not used. It should be hostile. As an action, you can expend 2, because it costs 2 charges, you can spend 2 of the battery's charges, and force each hostile creature, or just each creature of your choice within a 15-foot radius of you, to make a con save against. Spell DC, no, this is wrong. Using verses, no, it's like they've done it right here. Why have they done it wrong here? I don't understand. Must make a con save or be pushed. See, this is another templating problem. Is they can, if they make the saving throw at all, like, what happens if they fail? Seemingly nothing, because as it stands here, is if they choose not to make the saving throw, they get pushed. And if they succeed the saving throw, they don't get pushed and they take half damage. What happens if they fail? Obviously, this is what's supposed to happen when they fail, but the way it's worded means that they have a choice to make the saving throw. And if they make the saving throw and fail, nothing happens. So to make a Constitution saving throw against your Artificer spell save DC, on a failure, so basically the way that templating works is you use on a failure. It does this when there are multiple effects that take place. If it's just damage, you put a creature takes this much damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Whereas if there's extra effects, it would be on a failed save, a creature takes 1d6 force damage and is pushed 15 feet away from you. On a success, a creature takes half as much damage and is not pushed. This is like, this technically works here, but again, it's just bad form. This ability is marginally better. It should be a strength save, just because that makes way more sense. And it's still definitely very bad, but it is much better, because you can theoretically target, 3, 4, maybe even 5 creatures with this, which makes it actually quite good. But in all other instances, it's fucking terrible. Like, so far, both of these abilities... This ability is just a trap. This ability is quite bad. Projectile Field. As an action, you can produce a 5-foot radius centered on you. What? Right, okay. So for starters, why is he written 5 here, and 15 as a number here? You use numbers for, like, measurements and quantities. Why have they... Why? But a 5-foot radius A 5-foot radius technically passes... A 5-foot radius centered on you. That would cover 4 squares. Yeah, this does not work in the way that this person thinks it does. Because a 5-foot radius, the way radiuses work is they appear on the point. So you are in your space, and you're in a square space, because that's how D&D works. So you can play with hexes, but nobody does, because it makes the game way more complicated. Because more sides means more complication. Well, generally speaking. And obviously you're in your space. You have 4 corners. When you place a radius, you place the radius on the corner of the space. And a 5-foot radius is 5 feet across, so it fills your space and 3 adjacent spaces to you. Either it sort of creates like an arrow pointing away from you, which is clearly not what this person wants. They want a bubble shield around you. What they actually want is they want a bubble shield that non-magical projectiles cannot pass through. There are much better ways of wording this ability, but on principle I like it. It's executed in a way where it just blatantly doesn't work, though. Volatile charge. As a bonus action, you can make a DC 12 intelligence check, so... I'm not sure why that. On a success, the battery regains 1d4 charge. You mean charges. On a failure, you suffer 1d6 lightning damage, and the charges are replaced but none... are not replaced but none are lost. Okay, right. This is another pet peeve here. This is actually fucking exhausting. This is like started out, it's like, okay, and now we're like delving into hell. So yeah, you also have to choose 2 of these. So you have to pick this one. Like, this is objectively, you have to pick this. A DC 12 int check is not hard to make, and you can do it as much as you want. Like, yeah, yeah, this is a pet peeve because, like, this doesn't need to be here. This is actively a waste of words. Like, hell, even this, and all of this doesn't need to be here. And we zoom down so you can actually, like, see it. There we go. Like, none of this needs to be here. It's all implied. That's how it works anyway. But either way, we're going to move on. You gain one of the following abilities. Defibrillate as a bonus action. You get 6 charges, and it regains 1d6 charges at the end of every short rest. As a bonus action, you can channel electricity from your battery into your hands and touch an unconscious ally, bringing them up to 1d4 hit points plus your... Okay, right. So what this is supposed to be, this is a really interesting ability. I legitimately really like Defibrillate. This is fantastic. I genuinely really fucking like this ability. It's awesome. As a bonus action, you can channel electricity from your battery, so it should be from your battery to your hands and touch an unconscious creature with 0 hit points. That creature regains hit points equal to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier. That's what that is supposed to be worded as. And the fact that you get a shittier healing word, but I guess it doesn't actually cost you any resources, that's kind of cool. It's a really interesting ability, and it's also, like, not bad either. It's really not bad. It's quite interesting. I like it. I actually, it's templated completely wrong, though it does technically work. Well, no, bring them up to 1d4 hit points plus your... No, that doesn't work. Never mind, it does not work. High frequency, that should be... All of these, in fact, actually should be capitalized. These are in... I forget what, like capitalize each word. It's not capital case, because capital case is like caps lock. But it's all caps, but all of these, all words in the name of an ability should be capitalized, and Arcane Battery is, but these aren't, so yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with those. High frequency is an action you can cause an ear-piercing sound, forcing any creature that can hear, not hear you, that can hear. Which is an important distinction, because you could be silenced, but they still possess the ability to hear, so they will still take it. Oh, I need to drink some of this coffee. Make a Constitution saving throw against your spell DC. Again, they got it right here. Why are they getting it right everywhere else? This is inconsistency. This is bad. Consistency is the most important thing about templating rules in anything. It's like the most important part. Kill the bot. On failure to take 1d6 thunder damage, become deaf until the end of your next turn. This is terrible. This is a terrible ability. Because it targets all creatures within 60 feet of you, so all your allies. The damage is no better than any of these. It costs 2 charges, and it scales even slower. And it deafens, which there are almost no game terms in the entire game that do anything with this. So yeah. When you suffer bludgeoning damage from a weapon attack while there should be no comma here. The attacker suffers the bludgeoning damage. No, just when a creature within 5 feet of you hits you with a melee attack. That is the templating for these kinds of abilities. We also don't capitalize. No, have they just done it here? Have they not done it anywhere else? No, again, like inconsistency. We don't capitalize these game terms. Like, again, resistance is not capitalized. Yet while holding your battery of resistance to lightning damage, whatever. Again, then again, looking at that, like this ability is fine. Obviously, like these should not be capitalized here, but that's actually really interesting because it means you can use volatile charge much more easily. You're already at a point where it doesn't really do any damage to you, but now it does half as much damage, and you have like 5 times as many hit points because you're 5th level now. Yeah, these So these 9th level abilities, you have 8 charges. You gain 2 of the following. Okay, right, you get 2 of these as opposed to 1 on the last one. Self-destruction, you overcharge your battery, expending all remaining charges to explode in a 30-foot radius in 1d4 rounds. Okay. Okay. This ability is garbage. It's complete trash. If it has 8 charges, yeah, you're doing 16d8 damage. What kind of damage is that? That's 16. That's 8 times 5 is you're doing 40 points of damage on a. It is a. Let me double check that. It's a dex save versus 16d4. What is that? 41. I was a little out. Wait, no, ignore me. 40. I misread the thing. I misread the thing and second guessed myself. Absorption. When you take lightning or thunder damage, again, stop capitalizing these. Why have you started doing it? Why? You choose to absorb it with your battery. If you do, you take no damage and your battery regains 1d4 charges. That's interesting. That's actually really interesting. I just wish the battery abilities were good, because they aren't. They're just bad. This ability is also very bad. This is actively a really terrible ability. Like, cool, advantage on initiative. Also, I understand, like, this person understands that initiative is an ability check, which a lot of people don't, and that's actually quite impressive. You don't template it like that. It's just initiative checks. That's a weird stipulation, but the reason that most skills are templated dexterity, stealth, or strength athletics is because, technically speaking, you can do whatever you want with the skills. If your DM asks you to make a constitution athletics check, there is nothing that can stop them from doing that. That is 100% rules compliant. That's in fact the intention of the rules, that your DM will occasionally ask you to do different shit. It very rarely comes up, because most of the time it doesn't really matter. Or you just use a different skill. Like perception and investigation, for instance. Like you would never make an intelligence perception check, because you would just make an investigation check instead. But I think you understand my meaning. But either way. Redirection. When a character makes a non-critical ranged attack against you. Non-critical is not a thing. It would be makes a ranged attack against you unless the attack roll is a critical hit. It should be, while you're holding your battery, or when a creature makes a ranged attack against you when you're holding your battery, or while you are wielding your battery, whatever. As long as the result of the attack roll is not a critical hit, you can use your reaction to change the course of the projectile. If you do make a spell attack, say ranged spell attack, because you have to specify if it's a ranged or a melee spell attack, because that's how that works, against a target within 30 feet of you. This is another sort of edited thing. We're going to put these dashes here if it's 30 foot. 30 feet is a space, 30 foot is a dash. It's an important stipulation for some reason. I don't know why that's the case, but that is 100% how you're supposed to do it. This ammunition does not work. This ability does not work on ammunition bigger than small. I understand what they mean here, but sized ammunition is not a thing. Like, very explicitly, that isn't a thing. And quick charge. Once per short rest is a bonus action. Oh. It's a less interesting version of volatile charge. This is interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, this is legitimately interesting. It's just very badly executed. The idea of having the battery that you charge your spells with. I saw this, but without reading anything. All of these are like, I see an idea that looks conceptually interesting, or it's a concept that looks intriguing, or I feel like I've skimmed it and I have something to say about it. I looked at this and I was like, wow, this is a great idea. There's so much potential here. This is just ostensibly a good idea. This is actively a really fantastic concept, and I love it. It's just horribly executed, and that's the big problem with the D&D Wiki, Unearthed Arcana, D&D Beyond, is none of them have a good feedback system for balance, because everyone else on there is an amateur hour homebrewer who doesn't actually understand how the game works. Unearthed Arcana is full of people who say they understand how the game works, but 90% of them don't. This site doesn't even have any commenting system. You can't provide feedback on this. You can change it. Oh, I didn't realize it was an optional rule. That's interesting. I was also surprised it's in... Well, no, I did know it was in the PHP. But, yeah, this is a fundamentally fantastic idea, and I kind of want to steal it for something. Like, just the concept of having a battery with charges, and doing lightning stuff. Like, that's the most interesting take on a lightning-themed artificer I think I've seen, and I've seen quite a few. It's just horribly executed. There's so many different ways. Like, this... There's so much to it. I would get rid of the intelligence check. That's fucking boring. But the idea that you can gamble, you're taking a little bit of damage to gain charges into your like energy pack, that's fucking awesome. This is legitimately really interesting, and it poses a lot of interesting design questions. It's just horribly designed. It's like, well, it's, I don't know. The concept is like a 10, and I absolutely love this. The actual execution is like 3. There's bits of things here that work, but for the most part, they just fucking don't. Like at all. That is very true. That is, you get resistance to lightning damage, and that's it. I think focusing the class around the battery is a good thing. However, your abilities should work with other artificer stuff. For example, you should be able to put invocations on your battery in some way. I don't know what that would do, mind you. Or maybe, a lot of these abilities you could just fucking throw out. You could just have a couple of abilities that you just get. So my immediate thought would be pack in some of these bad abilities, like this one. Pack those in at 3rd level. Cut most of these, frankly. Like, almost all of these could go. And then put in, maybe at 5th or at 9th, you can spend charges, like when you cast an artificer spell, or a 1st level or higher, you can spend charges to upcast it for free. That could be cool. Like, that could be really interesting. Or maybe, maybe shock is a bonus action, and is therefore actually good. There's so many different little things you can do, and it just seems really fun. There's so many little things that you could do with this design, and I love it. But it's never going to get touched again. Maybe this person who made this has played this, or their player has played this, or whatever. Because I find a lot of really bad homebrew that people made for themselves. Telling their DM, I want to do this, can I make something? And the DM goes, sure, because they don't really know how the game works either. And then they go off and they make something fucking terrible. Usually because they don't actually know what they're doing. And they're never going to learn that it's bad, because the only person they have is their DM, who may hate it, but because they don't really understand it either, they're not really, it's really difficult to explain that something is bad if you don't really understand it. We develop taste long before we develop, actual, talent. Back when I was as bad as this, I could pick out when I saw shit as bad as this, even though I wasn't much better. And I wasn't even necessarily aware that I wasn't much better either. And I think everyone is like that with everything. We can all tell when we don't like something, but it takes a specific kind of talent in the thing in question to understand even why you don't like it in the first place. Is my general kind of take, I guess. Maybe that's just correct. I don't know if that's a take or if that's just an objective fact. I don't actually know. I certainly had it said to me in the past, implying that it was an objective fact, and I agree with the sentiment, but I don't know if it actually is, just a fact or not. But I'm going to take a quick break here, because I'm really hungry. I'm going to go get some food. I'll be 15 minutes, and when I get back, we're going to look at the next thing on my list, which is the Flagellant Barbarian, which looks really interesting. I don't know how well designed it's going to be. It could be shit. It probably will be. It is the D&D Wiki after all. But yeah, I'm going to head off. I'm going to go take a break here. I will be back. I will be back in 15 minutes. See ya. Hey folks, I'm back. Right. This is part of the flatulent. I want to see this. You're a hardy individual, and you have discovered an immense power within yourself. Generic as all fuck. That means nothing. While most get progressively worse as they feel their life leaving their body, you instead are at your peak when you are near death. By removing the useless vitality that only burdens you. What? You're able to find the rage within the yeah, this is terrible flavor text. This fucking sucks. Oh. Your rage damage increases by 1 for every 10 hit points you have below your maximum amount of hit points. It should be for every. Oh god, this is so awkward. I guess this is the kind of barbarian where your strength just straight up doesn't matter. Additionally, when you successfully hit a creature while raging, you gain 1/4 of the damage dealt as temporary hit points. Temporary hit points gained in this way are removed when your rage ends. Temporary hit points gained in this way stack as normal hit points do, but cannot exceed half your hit point maximum. You would need a lot more than a fucking sentence to mechanically make that work. Like, obviously, the intention is clear in what it is, but that shit doesn't work. Moreover, when you take damage, you may choose the damage to affect only your hit points or only your temporary hit points. That's not how... Realistically, it would be, when you take damage, if you have temporary hit points, you may choose for the damage to be dealt to your, for the damage to ignore your temporary hit points, which you would probably never actually want to do. Well, I guess that's not true. I guess you would kind of want to... Like, basically, this ability is too much. I think it shouldn't be temp. It should be like you have a second pool of hit points that start at 0 and increase when you damage creatures, and you shouldn't just get this. Like you shouldn't just get this at level 3 as well. Like this ability is already amazing at 3rd level. Or I suppose if anything, no, cut this at 3rd and move this to 6th. Oh god, I need to clear my throat. Ugh. By successfully making an attack, I'm looking at the 6th level ability now. By successfully making an attack roll against yourself. Oh, for fuck's sake. Any friendly is not a game term. Friendly creatures. Any friendly creature within 15 feet of you regain an amount of hit points equal to the roll of the affected creature, you? Or them, is equal to the amount of hit dice rolled is equal to the amount of successful attack rolls you make against yourself. You cannot heal yourself in this fashion. Everything about this ability is bad. It's just fundamentally is bad. It should not exist. It should not have been made. This is fundamentally just awful. There is nothing about this ability that should exist. However, if you're reduced to 0 hit points or otherwise not unconscious, you remain conscious if you still possess temporary hit points. When this occurs, you take 1 level of exhaustion. This is not worded properly. Again, this should be a barrier. This should be like this should be like Arcane Ward. Again, this is like another really interesting mechanical thing of being, playing sort of that risk reward game. And that's really cool, but man, is it just bad. Oh. wire is all twisted. Need to fix that later on. Unmoving resolve. If you're reduced to 0 points or otherwise not unconscious, you take none of the damage. Again, like, why do this? Just go get the wording for Death Water on Dying Sentinel. And yeah, you get proficiency to death saves, whatever. When raging, your hit points cannot be lower than 1 unless the damage taken is a critical hit or the amount of damage dealt is equal to twice your current amount of hit points plus your temporary hit points. Right. Right. Okay. This is super clunky, and you have to do a bunch of math every time you would be dropped to 0. I was like, obviously this is way simpler than the Artificer subclass, because it's taken me like 5 minutes to read through it. But it's like, all of these abilities have, well, I say all of these abilities. This ability, the 2 parts of this are legitimately really interesting. My main concern is that Barbarian's already, like, tanky enough. They don't really need more. But even so, this is still just interesting. Oh. But yeah. Again, it's another thing where there's a lot of cool ideas presented here. They're just executed horrendously. And then there is also this, which is like, all of this is just a bad idea and shouldn't exist. So I'm gonna skip past this one into another. I think it's gonna be a fairly short one. Is the Druid Circle of Iron. Most Druids are purists that believe that they may only protect themselves with the gifts of nature, hide and leathers, furs and scales. The Druids' desire to wield only these crude implements is nothing more than a disservice to their incredible abilities. That seems super dismissive of all other Druids, that they wouldn't write that. Druids at the Circle believe that metal is not only a natural device worthy of use by a Druid, but the metal is the greatest gift that Mother Nature has provided her children. This is great. This sucks. Like, this is... Metal is the greatest of gifts that Mother Nature has provided her children. That's amazing. As a world-building note, this circle may be particularly interesting as a dwarf-centric druid. So just get rid of this. This isn't interesting. Let people just do whatever they want. Don't try and put ideas into their head. Iron Bond. You may now wield. No, it's suffer no penalties for doing so. It's like, no, druids just don't use metal things. Yeah, you also gain proficiency. Wait, no, druids already get simple weapons. With all simple, it would just be proficiency in martial weapons, because druids already get simple weapons. Oh no, they don't. Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair enough. Person who made this, you've bested me. Iron Will. As a bonus action, you may grant yourself temporary hit points equal to your druid level. These temporary hit points are lost at the beginning of your next turn. Use the feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum 1. And you gain all uses of this feature when you complete a long rest. This ability is bad, because when you get it, you get 2 temporary hit points, and that's kind of fucking useless. Yeah, this is just kind of fucking useless. Yeah. Like eventually this ability is insanely powerful, but at second level, when you actually get it, it's fucking terrible. Iron Form. While in wild shape, your armor class is increased to 16 if the beast you transform into has a lower armor class than this. That isn't how that's supposed to be worded, but it's not that bad. In addition, when you wild shape, you expend a spell slot to gain temporary hit points equal to 5. No, they don't. You don't use the multiplication symbol. You just use you just type the word, TIMES. The spell slots level while wild shape. For example, if you transform into a wolf, you can choose... Okay, I don't know why they need a for example there. It's fucking gaining temp. Yeah, both of these abilities are bad. They're just not very good. Might of Steel. If you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you're instead reduced to 1 hit point and gain the benefits of your Iron Will feature without expending a use of your... it should just be you gain the benefits of you, no quotes here, just capitalize, of your Iron Will feature without expending a use of it. This is an interesting ability. This is actually kind of cool. Like, it's a slightly better Death Ward that ties into your pre-established class feature. That's cool. And Ferrous Sentinel. You're permanently under the effects of the spell Bark Skin. You have Bark Skin and Stone Skin, which seems like the opposite of what you're supposed to have. Right, so this I actually picked because I knew it wasn't like overwhelmingly bad in any one way or another. It's more that it poses a very significant design problem. Is that it has its second level feature is bad when you get it and becomes kind of broken at higher levels, which is the worst kind of low level ability, because most people don't play at high levels. Most people play at low levels, and almost every instance where you would have this until you hit like 10th level, this ability is just bad. In the meantime, Iron Form buffs your Wild Shape, but not in a way that makes Wild Shape good. The main problem with Wild Shape is it's just bad in combat at basically all levels, unless you're a Moon Druid. If you're not a Moon Druid, then you should not be Wild Shaping in combat, because it is just bad. When you first get access to Wild Shape at like level 2, it's not bad, like it's not terrible. But certainly by the time you get to 6th level, you have access to 3rd level Druid spells. That's a lot of really significant shit that you're just shunning for the purpose of for being a fucking, like, wolf? For being a dire wolf with good AC. Like, that's not useful. That's really terrible. And, it's that push and pull of, like, trying to pull Druid into Wild Shape, is just a fundamentally bad idea, because Wild Shape is bad. Even as a Moon Druid, it's just not good. Moon Druids are like the generic Druid, and everybody always picks them, even though they're probably the worst Druid. Just because, like, it's also the worst kind of Druid design-wise, because at level 2, Moon Druid is broken, and then immediately afterwards, like with every level, Moon Druid gets worse and worse and worse, until it eventually becomes vaguely good again. At 10th level, it's still pretty bad, and then becomes completely useless until you get beast spells at 18th level. So, whereupon it's broken again. So, Moon Druid has like 2 axes. Its bell curve of power is completely busted down to useless to almost to marginally useful, back down to useless, and then back up to really kind of busted. And this, it just is just bad all the way along. You get cool abilities, but it's just not good. It just isn't. It's trying to pull you into Wild Shape without actually giving you any benefits for it. Moon Druid gives you every benefit it can possibly muster for being in Wild Shape, but even then, Moon Druid is still just not good. And that feels like a massive problem. But I'm gonna shift on from here into the next one, because we're sort of at the halfway point here. I'm not sure if I'm going to get through all of these, but I'm going to make an effort for it. This is the True Blade. Super fucking edgy. Notice this, like, samurai guy here. A True Blade is, as its name suggests, a master of the blade, a dashing fighter who can't be stopped, moving faster than what the untrained eye can see. They should be moving faster than the untrained. Like, this whole misspelt what here is unnecessary. They're quick-footed, not having much use for heavy armors. Armor, you don't pluralize armor. Armor itself is the plural. I mean, it's a self-pluralized word. A true blade is skilled, precise, and comma. Oh, right, okay, and okay, right. Most remarkably, fast. Remarkable. Is a swordmaster using swords to the fullest. I hate all of this. All of this is awful. You use blades precisely and dexterously. No capitalized. Long swords, great swords, and glaives are considered finesse weapons for you. Well, that's not a blade. A glaive is like it's like an axe polearm, kinda. Certainly, I certainly wouldn't classify a glaive as a sword, that's for sure. Obviously, they're going down like the edgy, like anime boy route, so it's probably like a naginata or something, which is a lot more sword-like. But even so. Dashing blade. While using a finesse weapon and not wearing heavy armor, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. So this should be capitalized for stars. That should be, and it should be while you are, it should just be while you're not wearing heavy armor. You shouldn't need to be wielding a finesse weapon to do this. What? Additionally, you gain a special movement called a dashing movement equal. This, like, if you're going to name something as a game term, fucking capitalize it. Like, capital D, capital M. Equal to your dexterity ability score. You can use this dashing movement in multiples of, brackets, in multiples of 5 as a part of making a melee weapon attack. It doesn't cost your regular movement speed, it should just be movement to use it, and you can move with this dashing movement before or after making a melee weapon attack. This dashing movement doesn't provoke. Right, so I understand exactly what this is trying to represent. Someone here is a Yasuo main. Yeah, this person is a Yasuo main. So the worst part of this is actually a really interesting ability. The main thing here is that what this is trying to be is it wants you to, like, realistically, it should be when you make a weapon, additionally, when you make a weapon attack with a finesse weapon, you can move up to 5 feet before or after making that attack. And then that's really interesting, because you can use glaives. You can use a glaive, and it's a finesse weapon for you. So you get into 10 feet of them, you attack them, and then you step back, and then you have, you're a Sentinel Polearm Master build or whatever. And you get that movement for free. That's really interesting. That's, like, legitimately really fucking cool. But it's just terribly worded. Like, all of this, you need to call it special movement. It's just before or after, when you make, whenever you make an attack roll, or you would make an attack roll, or, like, I don't know exactly how you would word it, but it is very much it's much simpler than this. At 7th level, you get evasion. Please don't write dex saving throw. That's not a thing. Capital dexterity, for fuck's sake. Right. Storming Gale. When you take the dash, again, capitalize dash. It's an action. You capitalize those. You make a weapon attack as a part of the same action. That's interesting. You should get this at level 3. That's the whole point. That's what that should be. That's what you should be able to do. There is also, like, a really interesting sort of way of playing this fighter, especially pre-11th level, which you get. There's only, like, one level where this is particularly good. But you can use this. You can dash as your action, attack someone, and then bonus action dash again, and then attack them a second time. You still get the benefits of extra attack. Yeah, like, I would say I would want to move this to a lower level, but make it so that once per turn when you take the dash action, because you can technically dash twice on your turn. But even so. And then unrelenting speed. Unrelenting. I kind of like that. Unrelenting speed. Or sprint, even. When you take the dash action, you don't provoke opportunity attacks. It should be until the end of the turn. Additionally, you can pass through spaces occupied by other creatures as long as you stop in free space. Okay, right. This is fine. It's not worded... I mean, it's worded badly, but it's not worded, like, horrifically. Okay, when you reach 18th level, you add +1. Okay, right. This is worded very, very badly. But whenever you make... You gain a +1 to damage... to a damage roll you make for a melee attack for every 5 feet you have moved this turn before making an attack. And +1 to the attack roll. Why are these the other way around? Like, just get rid of the attack roll thing. You're 18th level, you don't fucking need it. You can use this feature multiple times per turn, however, you are always considered that you moved 0 feet this turn after you make... This? Cut all of this, just make this once per turn. I swear to fucking God. Like, I'm gonna reword all of this. Is... when you make an attack roll against a creature, or when you make an attack roll against a creature, or it'd probably be once per turn. When you make an attack roll against a creature, your attack deals an extra 1. Your weapon damage. You deal an extra +1 weapon damage or whatever for every 5 feet you moved towards the target before making the attack this turn. Or something like that, before making this attack. Yeah. This is conceptually very interesting, but it's just horribly executed and is also just very edgy in a super just uninteresting way. Like, this fucking blows. But there's a lot of interesting things here. Like, genuinely, they really are. Like, this is cool, even if it is, like, kind of funny and how kind of broken it is. Now, then, the next one that is also probably made by a weeb is the Flash Ninja. Which does not have anything to do with flashing people, thank God. A Flash Ninja is one who relies on stealth. This is a monk subclass, by the way. Gathering intelligence, powerful combat techniques, and mysticism. Mysticism, okay, right. This is a bit sort of getting some Orientalism up in this bitch, I guess. Into a deadly science and sophisticated technique of warfare. Further? Should be furthermore. Flash ninjas have honed the ability to slip through the cracks in space to move with incredible speed. The odds are unfavorable and dishonor threatens. Oh, yeah, yikes. Could be hired to bring swift victory and restore harmony of society through... Harmony of society. I better call her. Damn, guys, society's doing pretty rough. I better call the Flash Ninja. Oh my god. This sounds like a superhero, but not from like Marvel or DC, from one of like the third-rate comic companies that like no one's ever really heard of. Like anybody who isn't like a diehard comic fan has like never heard of ever. I'm trying to think of one. I think like Valiant Comics is one of them. It's the only one I know. I think those are the guys who do Invincible, I think. Which, again, is much more famous for the show than it is for the actual fucking comic books. Then again, I suppose could be said for Marvel. I can't imagine the Marvel Comics industry ever made anywhere near as much as the fucking MCU has, but I don't know, and I also don't fucking care. Using stealth and with the poisonous supplies to hand. If you don't have it already, this is unnecessary. Nothing else in the game references proficiency in this way, but they felt the need to. In addition, you gain proficiency with the longsword, and the longsword is considered a monk weapon for you. Someone likes longswords. That's the only reason this is here. I'm telling you that right now. Like, this person really likes longswords, and that's it. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 key point to teleport to a place you can see within a distance equal to your movement speed. Right. So, as a bonus action, what this should be is, as a bonus action, you can spend 1... You seemingly have teleported. Hang on, you literally teleport. You haven't seemingly teleported anyway. You literally have. Mechanically speaking, you have teleported. Fuck this flavor text. Like, I know it's like, oh, you're able to move so fast. It's like, no, you literally are teleporting. If you're able to move so fast, then you can just say you instantly move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks or whatever. Like, that should be what that is. But whatever. As a bonus action, you spend 1 key point to teleport to a place you can see within... To a place you can see... You instantly... It should be an unoccupied space as well. That's important. You can spend 1 key point and choose an unoccupied space within a range equal to or less than your walking speed. You teleport to the chosen space. If you make an attack right after teleporting in this manner, you take the opponent by surprise. The attack is made at advantage and causes an additional 1d6 damage on a hit. Creatures that can't be surprised don't take this additional damage. Now, this isn't how surprise works, but I also really like that. I think this person legitimately doesn't understand how surprise works. Well, actually, maybe that's not true. That's probably a little presumptuous. I think it is feasible that this person does not actually understand how surprise works. However, I do fucking love that this is how it works. This damage increases by 2d6 at 6th level, 3d6 at 11th level, and 4d6 at 17th level. In addition, if you've used Flurry of Blows, you can forgo one of your attacks. Right, okay, that shouldn't be worded like this. It should be, additionally... Wait. Why would I spend my bonus action to do Flurry of Blows and then spend another key point to use this ability? Because I don't get the full benefit of Flurry of Blows either. I spend a key point to make 1 attack, which I can already do anyway as a bonus action, and I spend a second key point to do this when I could have just not made that attack. This is badly thought out. I don't like it when you use your flash step and when you use flash step. Until the end of your turn, you have a flying speed equal to your movement speed. You can hover and attack also have disadvantage against you. You can also move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take... You know what? This is interesting. I think it's kind of silly and kind of shits on Phantom, like Phantom Rogue, a lot. I don't know how old this is. It may be older than Phantom Rogue, which if it is, then congrats. Congrats whoever made this. Watsy stole your ability. Because I believe this is how Ghost Walk works for Phantom, like Phantom Rogue from Tasha's. When you are hit by a ranged weapon attack or when you fall, you can use your reaction to spend 1 key point to use your flash step, potentially avoiding the effects of the attack and fall. Potentially? What does that even mean? There's no, okay. That's a really busted ability. You don't need the fall as well. Slow fall exists. You have a whole ability that you've had for 2 levels that negates fall damage. Like, I understand the idea of spending a key point as a reaction to just not be hit by a ranged attack, but deflect missiles also exists. It also only works on ranged weapon attacks, just like deflect missiles does. Why is this a thing? Wait, you also get this at the same level you get Ghost Step. Just cut this. Just get rid of it. I understand that they like the idea of being able to, instant transmission away from your fucking, your fucking, your longbow attack, but God forbid you shoot a fireball at me. I can't dodge that. Like, at least with deflect missiles, it makes sense that you can't just grab the fireball and toss it back at them, but even so. Whenever you use your flash step, you can bring along objects as long as their weight doesn't exceed what you can carry. You must bring one to a creature. this is weird because the teleportation doesn't say you come with everything you're wearing and carrying. That's really strange. You bring one willing creature of your size or smaller who is carrying gear up to its carrying capacity. The creature must be within 5 feet of you when you cast this spell. It's not a spell! What? Addition, when you use Flurry of Blows, you can give one of your attacks to take the flash step without spending extra keys. So yeah, this ability is actively just fucking garbage. You just waste a key when you could have, like, you're like, oh, I want to do one extra attack and still teleport. Like, just, no. Also, whenever you use Step of the Wind, you benefit from your flash step. This is actually kind of bonkers. This is straight up, like, your flash step is, like, doubly effective now. You can bring any object or creature of huge size or lower during a flash step regardless of weight. The target can attempt a charisma saving throw against it. I mean, yeah, this is, you know, someone really likes teleporting. Someone just really likes teleporting, you know? And, like, good for them, but also, why did you make this? Like, why? Yeah, this is... This isn't very good. This is... Like... There's a lot of massive problems with this that kind of make it just really bad. This is very clearly made by a person for them to play in someone else's campaign, because, like, you wouldn't just slap this on a thing if you weren't like, oh, I really want to use a longsword. It's like, you just wouldn't do that. Like, obviously this person wanted to be a longsword guy, and that's fine, but, you know, please don't post it publicly, you know. But the next one is the strangest one of them all. The Yorkshire Conclave. The Yorkshire Conclave. God. I can't. I don't understand. Okay, right, I need to... Yorkshire archery is composed of bowmen that pride themselves on their lethal accuracy to fire projectiles that split heavens and earth. Okay. You know. Cool. Like, dude, what? The legendary Splitter of Yorkshire was able to knock his bow and fire dozens of arrows in a blink of an eye. He could split arrows mid-air and turn his enemies into pincushions. Pincushions is one word. Before they could speak his name. These rangers are found all over the world, where they follow the winds that... The winds? The possessive? The winds that flows through their marksmanship. As long as that is how the Splitter travelled and how he disappeared. All those who imitate his form will come to such a fate. Nevertheless, they will become legends. To just make it the Splitter Conclave or something. Yorkshire has many legends and even more myths of its achievements. Some say that he? Who's a physical contestant of archery, or even a god that controlled the wind? A person called Robin Hood. Robert Hodd. No, that's not true. Found in the Robin Hood is from Nottingham. Nottingham is not in Yorkshire. I've been to Sherwood Forest twice. My grandfather lives in Nottingham. It's not in York. There's 4 counties called Yorkshire. I think it's 3 now, but even so. Nottingham is in Nottinghamshire. which is not in any of them. That's a separate county. Who made this? His name is not Robert Hod. I'm gonna look this up. Wait, no, he just wait, no. His name is Robert Hod. Well, theoretically he was called Robert Hod. This is just copied from Wikipedia. Priory in West stands as an alleged grave with a suspicious inscription, which... What? What? Who made this? Why? Okay, you get fairy fire, magic weapon, haste, freedom, movement, and swift quiver. Cool. I literally saw this and knew I had to read this. I saw this wall of text and saw Robert Hod, which apparently is real, or is a real name that he was called at one fucking point. I'm pretty sure Huntington is not in York, either. Where the fuck is Huntington? Huntington is not in York. No? No, it is. Okay, fair enough. Yorkshire Swift-Hand. Why does this ability pose a question? Like, some kind of philosophical question. Is they can achieve such feat in combat. E? What? What the fuck? The swift movements made in a single second is akin to a swordman's flex of a wrist, set to block out the sky with a volley of arrows. No. With a longbow or shortbow, you can spend a spell slot to fire additional arrows as part of the same attack for one additional arrow. No, you can use this feature without... What? How do you... What does firing multiple arrows do? It has no mechanical implication. Do you just spend spell slots to make more attacks? If so, that's fucking insane. One's first level spell slot is not equivalent to a fucking attack. Like a weapon attack. Like, you're a ranger. You can pick up sharpshooter as early as like level 4 and still get value out of it. Like, you can just be a Vuman and just have fucking sharpshooter out of the gate and hit things with it. Like, you know, it's the odds certainly aren't in your favor, but like, even at level 1, you get this at level 3. Let's say you're level 3 and you already have sharpshooter. You are an elf. You have 20 dex, which is completely doable in this fucking game, by the way. Like, you just need a decent stat roll and to play a +2 dex race. Well, I guess you can't be an elf, so I guess you would... Well, no, you can. You can be an elf because of the Tasha's changes. You're an elf, you pick... Oh, wait, no. Well, no, you just be a fucking custom lineage or some bullshit. You be custom lineage, you pick up sharpshooter, You get plus 2 dex, you have 20 dex, you have sharpshooter at level 1. You have the archery fighting style, so you have plus 7 to hit at level 1, which is really fucking high, by the way. Generally, you average at sort of like plus 5 to hit, like tops, generally, and you've got plus 7. With sharpshooter, that's plus 2. That's very low, but it still means you can hit things. Most things at low levels have very low AC. You can still fucking hit them. And even then, once you get to like 9th, this is insane. You spent a 3rd level spell slot to make 3 attacks. Do you know how much damage is in 3 attacks? Even without sharpshooter? Like, without sharpshooter, that is per spell slot. Well, per attack is 1d8 if you're using a longbow, which of course you are, plus 5. So that is 9.5 damage per level of the spell slot you expend. It's not even a bonus action. Who made this? 7th level you get blind sight, it gets better. You can also make your blind sight better for an hour by spending spell slot. That's fine. Well, I mean, giving blind sights, you shouldn't have done that, but whatever. At 11th level, you gain 1 additional 3rd level spell slot that can be used to cast one of your Yorkshire magic spells, or with your Swift Hand feature. And you add Conjure Barrage to your list of spells. No, the spell doesn't count. Conjure Barrage is a bad spell, so who cares? When you are hit with an attack, you make a dexterity saving throw against the result of the attack using a reaction. As such, you take no damage, you can move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks on that creature. This is insane. There's, like, most 15th level ranger features are some variation on Uncanny Dodge. This is just objectively better in every conceivable way, right? You're proficient in dex saves. Your 15th level, your bonus is probably going to be like plus 10. You can totally just use this ability, and if they, your AC is going to be what, like 16, 17? You have like plus 9. You need to roll like less than 10 to just take no damage. I want to find whoever made this, and I don't know what I would do if I find them, but I want to find them. I feel like part of me wants to bash them to death with a shovel, and the other half just wants me to like ask them why, and then bash them to death with a shovel. I don't understand. I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. Yeah, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Something a little more lighthearted as the final one. I really like Transistor. It's one of my favorite games. So I found a Transistor Warlock patron. I found it. I stumbled across it. The Transistor is an otherworldly path. It's a mechanical greatsword that contains and absorbs the spirits of dead people. Those spirits gave it magical power. The sword is sought by those who escape from the cycle of life and death, not to slay others, but have their consciousness be one with it. The sword cannot be broken, it cannot be replicated. Inside the sword is a peaceful place that provides you for all who are inside. Those who are inside can only know people in the sword they knew before were in the sword. Only the wielder may hear the voices contained within the sword. Okay. Guiding Bolt, Shield of Faith, Calm Emotions, Find Steed? Oh, they want Red to be able to summon her motorbike. Oh, that's wonderful. I actually really like that. Blink, Conjure Animals? Oh, I guess you get the dog. It should just be Summon Beast. Death Ward, Greater Invisibility, Animate Objects, Creation. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me wrong, that's cool. Wielder.msi. Wielder.msi. You know what? Fucking yes. I need to clear my throat. Fuck. At first level, you gain the transistor. It deals the same damage as your unarmed strikes damage, and you need it to use functions such as crash. The transistor can be your pact weapon if you choose the pact of the blade boon. Functions are not counted as attacks unless they require your attack action. I know that already this is fucking terrible. All adaptations from, like, popular media into D&D are almost exclusively fucking awful. But I just want to read this. A number of functions usable as preparing a spell at a time equal to proficiency bonus. They have all of them. Oh my god, they have all of them. Yo! Oh, that's really cool. Oh, okay. I really like this. Oh, that's really wonderful. Oh, this is awful, but I love it. A long time ago, when I played Transistor for the first time, it changed my fucking life, because that game is just wow. Like, I wanted to make a class like it in 5e. And I know that's not possible. I mean, it is possible. It's 100% possible, but should you do it is another question altogether, and the answer is no. No, you shouldn't. As an attack action, you can make a ranged spell attack with a range of 60 feet. It deals 2d6 force damage on a hit, and you do not, if the target is for attacking a target within 5 feet of you. A 7th level crack. Okay, right. Function.get tab. Starting at 1st level, when you kill a creature during combat, you gain hit points equal to. Starting at 5th level, additionally, if you know someone incredibly well, you communicate with them using your transistor, provided that they were killed with one of your transistor functions. Okay. And 4 of the following functions. Ping, as a bonus action, you make a ranged spell attack of 120 feet of you. On a hit, the targets take 1d8 force damage. Breach, as an action, you create a sizable line. A lot of damage. Wow, Breach is bananas. Spark, as an action, each originating from you must make. That's not how Spark works, but okay. It's pushed 10 feet away from you on a succession, half the damage and pushed in additional unsecured objects that are completely within the area of effect or automatically pushed 10 feet away from you. Mask, you become invisible at the same time as an illusionary double of you appears where you are standing. The double lasts. Yeah, this person doesn't understand being invisible doesn't make you hidden. You gain an additional 2d6 force damage on your next attack while the invisibility is up. This is horribly designed and horribly worded, but I love it all the same. Flood. Heals and slows for a maximum of 1 minute. But when does it deal this force damage? I don't know. Switch plus as an attack action, make charisma save or they're charmed. Yeah, switch minus. Turn. After this you may roll 1d4 plus your charisma modifier, adding a total of your AC until the end of your next turn, or you dismiss it. This can be done at will. Why would you ever dismiss this? While turn is active, you gain a plus 10 feet movement and opportunity attacks at disadvantage. However, you cannot attack other creatures. If you do so, the effect of turn. Oh, right, okay. As a bonus action, you can instantly teleport. What? What? You instantly I gotta solve for X. Oh my god. This is amazing. This is so bad. This is incredible. This was like a little drab towards the start where it was like, oh, it's like, it was a little drab, but these last two have destroyed me on a fundamental level. This is incredible. I love this. When I hit the target, takes any creature. Wait, there's 2 sparks. What? think this means you're supposed to teleport in a straight line, but also, why? Like, I mean, just say teleport in a straight line. Or just, whatever. Make a ranged spell attack against a creature object within 60 feet of you. On a hit, the target takes on each sense the next minute. I'll take this damage again. That's cool! This is actually a really interesting ability. I kind of like this. Wow. Load is an action. You strike the ground, creating a burst of forceful energy that ripples out forwards from you. If you choose within 30 feet, if you must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, or take 5d6 force damage as well as 5d6. This is... Yo, what? This is just destructive wave. This is straight up destructive wave. What? You can just do these whenever you want. Load is just straight up like... What? Oh. Beast of chance ranking 5 or lower within 5 feet of you coming from the trances. The beast disappears when it drops 0 points or hours. Part of the beast friendly to you and your companions for the original roll. The beast returns its own turn, debates any verbal commands you issue to it. By you, if you don't issue any commands to the beast, it defends itself from hostile creatures, but otherwise takes no actions. Creatures in this way have an additional feature called Sound Off. Sound Off is melee attack deals. This is bad. I hate this. You reverse gravity in a 20 foot radius, 50 foot high center to center point range. Okay, so they fall and then also take this damage because that's how they've written it. Get void or spell effects on the creature be dismissed. Bounce. Passive function .get overload. Oh, this is useless. There's like nothing that resists force and one creature that is immune to it. Oh my god. This is awful. This is like fundamentally every part of this is badly designed. The only good part about it is like the spell list, which is quite creative. I mean, even then they didn't like... Wait, this is center aligned? This is... okay, never mind. The spell list is not formatted properly, so I hate it. But even so... This was a fucking acid trip, these last two, and I feel like my mind is mush now. But I'm gonna head off here, I think. I don't know what I'm gonna do next week. I genuinely don't know. I might honestly look at making some monsters. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't have like a specific list of shit I want to do, so we're gonna work that out. Either way, I'm going to head off here. I hope folks have enjoyed themselves. I will see you on Wednesday for more Pokemon Sword. See ya. Need to actually go by. I wasn't tapped in. I need to go press the button. Okay, bye.